Welcome to the Sermons That Work podcast, featuring sermons written by some of the best preachers across the Episcopal Church.
Today's sermon is for the 10th Sunday after Pentecost, Proper 13, Year A, and is titled, Once Upon a Time. It was written and read by the Reverend Danáe Ashley, priest in the Diocese of Olympia and psychotherapist at Soul Spa Seattle, LLC. Once upon a time, a blind man and a man with an unresponsive hand approached a great healer begging to be healed. They had received a vision in a dream that this healer could help them if he followed specific instructions. So, after some coaxing, the healer spat in the blind man's eye, and as he wiped the spittle away, the man's sight was restored. Then the healer stepped on the withered hand, and immediately it began to work again. Everyone was amazed. It was a miracle. Once upon another time, a man was with his companions, and they came to a river. The man began to walk upon the water to the other side, and his companions heard a booming voice say, "Greetings," to their friend. They became frightened because it was an otherworldly voice. This was the same man who was also known to appear in 2 towns at the same hour. It was said he performed many miracles. These stories, among countless others being told in the first century, could have been talking about Jesus. The miraculous healing of the blind man and the man with the withered hand were said to be performed by the Roman Emperor Vespasian, who ruled from 69 to 79, whereas the man who walked on water and could be in 2 places at once was Pythagoras, of the mathematical Pythagorean theorem fame, who lived from 570 to 495 BCE. These pagan miracle stories swirled around with tales of rabbi wonder-workers and the miracles from the Hebrew scriptures that Moses, Elijah, and Elisha performed. Incredible tales were part of the first-century world, so common as to be like furniture in the room of the world. People saw them as ordinary in the sense that God was not breaking any of nature's laws by making wondrous events happen. This was all part and parcel of the way the world was. The meaning could be disputed, but the event itself was not reported for accuracy. It was pointing to a different truth. This is a very different view than how we approach miracles today. Nowadays, we hear a story such as, "They were in a car accident and should have died, but they walked away without a scratch. It's a miracle. God must have been protecting them for some purpose." Or, "I prayed that the cancer would go away, and it did. It was a miracle." Or, "Please, God, grant us a miracle and help the Red Sox win the World Series." This is not to say that God does not have the power to do all these things, but it creates a worldview where God is acting exceptionally, outside of the ordinary, and only for those that have enough faith. This is not what our Christian miracle stories, like the feeding of the more than 5,000 in our gospel today, are about. Miracle stories are not about showcasing Jesus as a man with special powers. Instead, they are vehicles of the gospel that show the coming of the kingdom of God. Jesus acts in miraculous and non-miraculous ways, just like other wonder workers of the time. However, unlike many others, Jesus' miracles point beyond themselves to express a God-centric, not Jesus-centric worldview. Jesus himself is God-centric, always looking to God, praying to God, and following God's call to him. Miracle stories do not typically happen as a reward to someone's faith. Instead, they make the presence and power of the kingdom of God visible to everyone, whether they believe the story or not. The people for whom Matthew's gospel was written were expecting the end of time to happen soon, within their lifetime. Miracle stories were a manifestation of the fulfillment of these expectations. Additionally, Miracle language is insider language. It is for believers to clarify and express their faith, not for converting outsiders. Each miracle portrays an act of God in Jesus to deliver humans from the threat to authentic life. Authentic meaning the person who God created us to be. Each miracle exposes a separation from God from our truest selves, and the need for salvation of many kinds, from sickness, thirst, hunger, demonic possession, being without purpose, natural disasters, and, of course, from sin and death. Each miracle encompasses the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus and holds this up to us in a shining, concise narrative. Think about it. It is breathtaking. We can see this in our gospel story today. Jesus withdraws to a deserted place by himself, but the crowds follow him. Jesus has compassion for them and cures their sick. Here he delivers this multitude of humanity from sickness and returns them to their authentic selves, healed and restored to community. This takes a long time. So long the hour is late, and the disciples want to send them off. Jesus surprises them by saying, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." Now, isn't that interesting? Jesus does not say that he will give them something to eat, but tells the disciples, "You give them something to eat," thus inviting the disciples into this miracle as well, knowing that God provides for human life. It does not matter that these people are poor, desperate, tired, and do not have much to offer in return. The disciples are tasked to give food to everyone, regardless of social status. It is not a transactional relationship, like the wealthy social classes imposed upon others, which the poor, desperate people in the crowd would have experienced in Jesus' time. God asks nothing in return. The disciples are like little children who go into the kitchen, open the refrigerator, and say, "There's nothing to eat." While there is not apparent abundance to the disciples, there is not just nothing. At this point, Jesus takes the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he focuses on God. He looks up to heaven, where the people of the time believed was the dwelling place of God, blesses and breaks the loaves, and gives them back to the disciples. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Then the disciples give them to the crowds where everyone eats their fill, with 12 baskets left over. Jesus calls the disciples and us to dream bigger. He entrusted the disciples to work together to feed the crowd, and he calls us to do the same. We have been invited into this miracle story. We are reminded yet again that God provides for human life, and we must respond. How many times have we been given blessed nourishment, salvation of some kind, and not passed it along to people who needed it? We are in ordinary time in the liturgical season of the Church, a time where our lectionary explores what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. Jesus could have blessed the loaves and fishes, and then done nothing. It was in the passing on of the miracle to the responsive disciples that, in turn, revealed God's abundant care to the crowd. Through the disciples' example, we learn that God uses our hands and feet so that the world is changed, that the kingdom of God is here. It is in God's healing that our authentic life is found. Jesus is holding the loaves and fishes out to you. Someone is waiting for you to share the blessing, to be invited into the miracle. What will you do? The Reverend Danáe Ashley is an Episcopal priest, Adlerian psychotherapist, international speaker, and voiceover actress who has ministered with parishes in North Carolina, New York, Minnesota, and Washington State. She is currently a priest and psychotherapist in Seattle. Danáe's book, My Sap is Rising, a pilgrimage of holistic mental health healing with Hildegard of Bingen and Alfred Adler, debuted in March 2026. When not reading, writing, or speaking about Hildegard, you may find her traveling with her husband, making sure their rescue dog is living his best life, dancing with wild abandon to Celtic music, and singing serious karaoke. Learn more about her work at www.danaeashley.com.
Sermons That Work is a joint offering of Forward Movement and the Episcopal Church's Office of Communication. For more free resources, including Bible studies and lesson plans, visit episcopalchurch.org/sermons. We would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. And while you're at it, share it with a friend.